In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to get set up and how to work on the exercise called Microsoft Word Practice 1. I've started here on our web page, and if you're watching this, it's because you clicked on the video. There are text instructions as well under the text instructions link, and these are the two files that you must download in order to complete this exercise. So to download them, you would just right click on each link and choose Save Link As. I happen to be in Google Chrome here. Save Link As, and find your project folder for this course. So we should be keeping all our work on the OneDrive. And I'll start at the spring semester folder and go into our course folder, Comp 1004. And I've already created a folder. If you don't have one, right click inside the window and just go New Folder. And I'll set one up for the next exercise, but just type in Word Practice. In your case, it'll be 1, but I'm going to put a 02 here for mine. Once you have that done, you can double click on that folder and save your file in there. So I'm just going to go Save, and there we go. So I'm going to right click on the other one as well, which is an image. Right click, Save Link As. I'm already in that folder, as I can see here by the pathway, and I'll just click Save. Okay, so let's go and take a look at those files. I'm just going to hide my browser for a second here and go into my File Explorer. And I'm just going to wait for my OneDrive to appear right here. And we'll go into our folder for our semester. And here's our course folder. And these are my project folders. You should create one of these for each of your practice assignments. That way you'll have your particular files in the same folder. So let me double click on Word Practice 1. Here are the two files that I downloaded. I happen to have a completed version of what we're going to be building here, so I'm going to use that as a reference point. So that's why I have 3 files in that folder. But this one and this one are the ones you would have downloaded from the internet. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch Microsoft Word. If you have a Word file, you can double click it and it will launch the program. But assuming you don't have one here, we'll just go to the Start menu and go down to the W's to look for Word. Here we are right here, single click, and that will launch Microsoft Word. Now we're going to start with a blank document, so just double click Blank Document. I believe it was actually a single click. And we're going to save our file immediately. Before we do anything, let's just save the file, bring it into existence on our OneDrive, and then start to implement content. So under File, I'm going to go Save As. We'll go to the OneDrive and go down to our folders for our course here and Word Practice 1. And I want you to use last name, underscore first name, underscore Word, underscore practice, underscore 1. Now I have one already like that, so I'm going to say 1B. And making sure I'm putting it where it should go, which is inside of that little project folder, inside of our course folder. I'm going to click Save after I've given it a proper name. Here we go, Save. And that's how you should save it. I'm going to just click away here to get rid of those hints. And now we'll start to initiate a file. Now that I've got the file saved, I think I'm going to open my finished file just as a reference and show you what we're going to create. It's a little flyer, if you will. Let me just go to File, Open. And I'll look for that on my OneDrive. And here it is here. And okay, let me just show you this. I can scroll up. So just a little one-page flyer, if you will. And down here we have our zoom feature. So I can actually zoom down so you can sort of see the whole thing. You can also zoom very close in if you want to have a really close look and see some details. Okay, I'm going to zoom out so that you can see the whole page just to have a reference here to start with. Okay, so we're going to create this one-page flyer, and we'll start with this little headline up here, and then we'll generate some of this text, and we'll import this image, and we'll create a wraparound feature with the text going around the image, and then we'll create some special effects on the image, if you will. You can create effects on imagery, and then we'll come back here, and we'll have made enough space. We'll leave some blank space between the headline and the body of text, and come back and create what's known as a shape, which is this rounded rectangle. And then we will actually input some text information in there and format it and style it and create some background colors and a border color for that shape as well. And we'll end off down here with a text box, which is kind of like a shape, but it's a different thing. It's known as a text box. And we'll decorate it as well with a border, and we'll create a shadow on it. We'll style the text that's inside. And then ultimately, we're going to put a little border on the page as well, a little decorated border that's got a little shadow and a triple line, and we will address what's known as a footer. And we're just going to put the file info with respect to the file name inside of the footer. There are sections called footers and headers. A header would normally be at the top of the page, and it's usually standard information that would be on a page. And the footer is usually like the sign-off information at the bottom of the page, and your main content, of course, sits in between. All right, so this is the little flyer that we're going to recreate. All right, so I think I might just keep this handy, but I'll go back to the blank file, and we'll start by just inputting some text here. Okay, so to toggle between files, you would go down to the bar at the bottom under, in this case, Microsoft Word, and it will pop up all the various files that are open. So I'm just going to switch over and click on the blank one, and we'll initiate our file here. Once again, you should be on the Home tab for this, and I'm going to get you to start by turning on this feature called Show and Hide Paragraph Marks and other formatting symbols. As a text, I guess a text expert, you would use formatting symbols just to see or to make sure that your formatting is correct when you're creating spaces. It's a hidden feature. Ultimately, it's not there when you generate your files, but it is a helper for anybody who's formatting text, and it just toggles on and off. So this is actually known as a paragraph symbol here. So I'm going to start by just typing in a headline for the flyer, and then the beginning of the body of text. So we'll start with the top line, volunteer, opportunity, available. Okay, and I'm going to go down 2 paragraph spaces by hitting my enter key once for one and a second time for the next. And I'll start the next line here. So again, follow me on this. Why don't I zoom in for this so you can see it a little better here. Okay, so I'm just going to start to type in this fall, comma, Loyalist College is offering, and you notice the spaces are indicated by dots, is offering a unique volunteer opportunity for health sciences students. And I'll put a period at the end of that. Okay, let me zoom back out so we can sort of see the whole page again here. Now you may have noticed there was a lot more text, right? Let me just quickly flash over. Well, you know what? I'm going to save this first. Up at the top, this little disk icon is your save button. Just click that. Now autosave is on, so it's going to save as we go. If you don't want it on, you can just click that off. Okay, I'm going to keep it on, I think. So it's going to automatically save, and that way I'll feel a little more protected in the event that, let's say, my computer crashed. Okay, this is known as the undo button. Let's say I did something like I wanted to hit enter and I didn't want to do that. I can undo, and it undoes the last step. In fact, if I keep clicking it, it'll keep undoing the previous steps. This is the redo button right here. Okay, so as I was saying, there was a lot more text. Let me just quickly flash over to that other file and show you. There's all of this other text here. So we're going to pull that text from an existing file, which is a pretty cool feature. Let me go back to my starter file here. And with my cursor flashing at the end of that text, I can actually go Insert, Object, Text from File. Again, that's under the Insert tab, so I switched over from Home over to Insert. All the way over on the right under Object, click the little down arrow and choose Text from File. I'm just waiting for my file searcher to come. Here it is. And it's the file you would have downloaded called Text Word Practice 1. You click on that, and we click Insert. And lo and behold, it populates all of the text from that existing file into this file. Not so bad. Okay, I think I'm just going to save that at this point. All right, I think we'll do the headline and format it first. Let's go to that. So let's highlight this text at the top here, including the little paragraph symbol. And I'm going to go back over to the home button here. And under fonts, I'm going to choose, let's see here, I think I will choose this one, which is called Fill Blue Accent Color 5. You can read the rest there. It's quite a long list of properties. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make it much larger. Let's make that maybe 36. Okay, and then the other thing I'd like to do is center the paragraph. You can see the features over here for formatting. Centered. Okay. Now, maybe under colors, I'll officially make it blue. Blue accent 1. Like that. And I've done a lot of stuff there, so it's definitely worth saving. So I'm going to click on my save button. Right there. There we go. Now, I realized when I started this text that it was already on Calibri at 11 points, but just in case yours isn't, I'm going to ask you to swipe across all the text starting from the bottom here all the way up, but do not highlight the headline, just the black text here, and ensure that it is set to 11 with Calibri as the font. Okay? And again, I'm just going to hit my save button right there. I've decided I'd actually like to add a shadow as well to this headline area here. So let's go back in. And we'll select that text, the headline text here. And if we go under here, under the text effects, click the arrow. You see there are a lot of categories below here where we can add various styles. So let's just go down to shadow. And let's see here. I'm particular to this one here, so I'm just going to pick offset bottom right. If you want to pick another one, feel free to do so. Okay, and we're going to click beside it there so I can see it. And again, I'm going to hit my save button. You can always return to any of these, add to them, change them at any point in time. Okay, so I think at this point though we are ready to insert an image, and if I just go over to compare with the other finished file, I'll show you what I mean here. This image right here, this Health Sciences, and it will be wrapped with the text. So we're going to have to make some room as well, as you can see here. So let's go back to our working file, and if I click on this paragraph right here, I'm going to hit enter 3 more times. Okay, that's going to allow some room for that shape that ultimately will drop in there. But let's click in front of the word this fall, right down here. Again, if I zoom up, I'll just show you here. So right here, let's just click, make sure your insert is right in front of that text. And we're going to go into Insert, and we'll click on Picture, and I'll click on this device. And as soon as the search window pops up, I'm going to go to my OneDrive and call up that image that we downloaded. So I'm on the OneDrive. I'm going to go into my folder here, into our course folder, into this project folder, and there is the image. I select it and I click Insert. Now there's this nice little shortcut layout menu right at the side here on the right side. So let's click that so that we can create a what's known as a wraparound text effect. I'm going to click on here, and just choose square. It's the very first one, square. Okay, and you can click that away. And now that text is wrapping around that image. With the image still selected, let's go and create an artistic effect as well. And we're going to use one called Pastel Smooth. You click on it and you can see what it's done here. It's created sort of this chalky pastel look to it. And if I come up here, I can also pick a picture style. You can see different ones here. Again, I'm going to let you pick one. I think I'm going to go with this one here called Soft Edge Rectangle. Or maybe we'll go with, yeah, I'll go with the Soft Edge Rectangle. It will closely resemble the previous exercise. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust this size here. So with the picture selected, you can see height and width at the end here. I'm going to bring it down to 4 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that, hit 4, hit my enter key. And that just shortened it just a little bit there. Okay, if I didn't want to keep that, I can always click undo. If I change my mind again, I can actually click redo. Okay, but ultimately, with that selected, make sure your width is 4 inches. We're also going to make an adjustment here. I'm just going to go back into the layout shortcut here and click on See More. I want to adjust the position here with the horizontal alignment. I want to align it to the left, but relative to the margin. And with the vertical, I do want to align it to the top, but I want to make it relative to the line. Okay. Now for size, you can go over here. If you needed to adjust the size, this is another place you can make such an adjustment. We've already adjusted it accordingly, so I'm just going to leave that alone and click OK. Again, I'm going to save my file. And that pretty well deals with the image here that is now being surrounded by the text, known as a text wrap. All right, I guess the next thing we can do here is add the shape. So to add a shape, I will need to go to the Insert tab. And we see shapes right here. So if I click the little arrow down, it gives me a long list of a variety of shapes. You can see there's quite an array to choose from. We're going to go with the one called Rectangle Rounded Corner, which is this one right here, as you can see. And it does give you a little feedback when you mouse over it. So if you hold your mouse for, say, I'll say a second and a half, it will tell you what the name of that shape is. So let me click on this now. And there's a couple of ways of applying it. I can simply do a click and it will put a 1 by 1 inch square there and I could readjust it, or I can actually initiate click and drag, which is holding your mouse down and dragging across the screen to initiate a shape, I'll say organically or by eye if you will. And this is more or less what I want to have. But if I want to make an adjustment to that size for accuracy's sake, I can go over to the width and height over on the far left here and make some changes here. So let's say I wanted to make it a bit taller. I'll make it 1.5. Put that in and then hit my enter key. As well as say 6.4. I was pretty close here, but if I want to go according to provided specs, if that was the case, 6.4, hit my enter key. So there is my final shape size. I can go inside and you can see sort of a crosshair icon. I can click and drag and move that around. Okay, so if I look on the far left, you're going to see it's like a smart guide. That green line, that means that it's snapping to the margin on the right side, which is good. I'm going to actually organically alter the height of this as well. I find it's just a little too tight here. So I'm going to grab one of these handles, which is another option for resizing and adjusting. Okay, so right there, I'm just going to grab that and just pull that down a bit till it feels comfortable. And I'm going to live with that. So you know what, let's save that up to this point. Click Save. And let's make some adjustments to the border and as well. So I'm going to go up to Shape Outline. And I'll just pick this color here. I guess it's called Blue Accent 5 Darker 50%. And as a second thing, I'm going to change the width or the weight, as we call it, on the shape outline as well. So back to that same pull down menu, and you see we have other specifics down here. We can change the nature of the line and so on. We're just going to stick to the weight here, which is the thickness, and choose 3. And you see here that border now is much thicker. So I'm going to add some content in here now. I'm going to ask you to type along with me. So I'm going to just click inside and start to type. For more, just put that lowercase, more information. Again, this is supposed to be a flyer, comma, please contact, let's see here. I'll just make up a name here. I'll say me, contact Dan Ouellette. Maybe put your own name there for fun. And I'm going to make up a phone number at, let's say 613-555-1234. Okay. And then a space, or I'll say or, comma, and I'll put in an email address. Just put in your email address. I'm going to put mine in here. dwouellette@loyalistcollege.com. Okay. And that should do it. Now I want to format that text. So to format anything, you need to select it. So I'm going to click and drag across all of this text by dragging upwards. If I start up here, of course, I would drag downwards. And for the text, we do need to go back to the Home tab. And I'm just going to make it italic. I'm going to keep the Calibri font, but I will make it bigger. I'm going to make it 16 here. And the white does read fairly well, but let's make it more subtle and make it the same color as this border here. So let's go over to the font color, pull down, and I'm just going to use one of these provided colors. And again, I'm going to use that one, blue accent 5, darker 50%. There we go. And if I want to see that, I can just sort of click away here, click outside, and it does deselect. And I should save my file again. So that is creating a shape, establishing its size, its location, making some style changes to it. In this case, we styled the border, and we added some text inside of the shape, and also styled our text with respect to the font size and the font color and the font itself, which was already Calibri, which was the desired font. Now we've gotten a lot done here, but let's go back and just check our reference file. The next step we're going to do will be to add a text box at the bottom, but let's just have a look at the finished file here so we have something to gauge against. So you can see here there's this sort of isolated box containing text, and it does have some style. I can see that it has a border and a shadow and, you know, sort of an established distance, if you will, right here. So we're going to recreate that now in our unfinished file. So let's just pop back over here. So let's initiate that text box at the bottom of our page here. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit here with my scroll wheel. And I noticed that there were a couple more paragraph returns at the bottom, so I'll add those as well to establish some space, if you will. And I have to go over to Insert to initiate a text box. So the text box controls are over on the far right here. You can see text box with a little arrow that gives us a pull down menu. And it does come with provided templates, if you will, but we're going to draw our own text box by choosing Draw Text Box near the bottom of the menu. Now you see a little cross here. It's basically click and drag to establish the box, which means hold your mouse down while you're dragging. So I'm going to click here. I'm just going to kind of guesstimate the position. I want it to be roughly 1.5 by 4.5 inches. So I'm going to guess it and then I'll refine it after I establish it here. So I'm going to let go of my mouse now, which does establish the text box. You'll notice the controls at the top switched over to shape format. And it's here that I can refine a lot of the properties of this text box. So I'm going to start with the size over on the far right here. And let's make it precisely 1.5. So I'm adding a 5 there, replacing what was there, and hitting my Enter key. And you should notice the text box update as well. I also want to make it 4.5 wide, so I'm going to highlight after the point and replace that with a 5 and hit my Enter key once again. And now my box is exactly 1.5 by 4.5. I'm also going to refine the location. So I can go to the edge here, as you can see. If you grab it by the edge, it changes into that Move tool. And I'm just going to drag around until I find that center alignment, green line, and then let it go there. Okay, I can raise it up a little bit, I guess. I'll put it about there. And it does, again, align with the top of the paragraph, as you can see. Or if I went even higher, it aligns with it right there. Let's put it right there, aligning with the top of these extra paragraph marks. Okay, so it should be fairly close to the bottom of the last line. All right, so let's add some text in here now. I'm just going to click inside that text box, and we're just going to manually type this in. Volunteering is an excellent way to gain an excellent. Now, my typing skills are not so great, so I may end up correcting some of these on the fly. Volunteering is an excellent way to gain service hours. Okay, period. And the next sentence will be, service hours are required. Service hours are required, space, for entry into some health science. For entry into some, I'm going to capitalize health science. Health sciences programs. Okay. And put a period at the end of that. And actually, that's not a period. It's a comma after that. Sorry, comma, space. And looks great on your resume. And looks great on your resume. Okay, period at the end of that. And a space. Dedicating your time as a volunteer, capital D. Dedicating your time as a volunteer helps you make new friends. Very true. Comma. Expand your network. Okay. And boost your social skills. All right, let me just take a quick look that my spelling is good. It looks all right to me. And I'm just going to save this. Save. Okay. Now we're going to refine this a bit more by going to our layout options here. And I'll click See More. And under Position tab, I'm going to make sure that it's centered relative to margin, which it currently is. If not, you can just click here and change those. But centered relative to margin. And under vertical, we're going to use absolute position. Absolute position. Just going to backspace this. 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to hit my tab key and make sure it says below paragraph. All right, so it is already there, but make sure it's 0.75 below paragraph. Now let's go over to the size tab and just ensure that our size is 1.5 by 4.5. Okay, and then we click OK. Again, I'm going to save this. While the text box is still selected, I'd like to add some style to it. So I'm going to go over to my Shape Format tab here, and I'm going to give it an outline. So under Shape Outline here, hit the pull down menu, and I'm just going to choose this blue, accent 1, darker 50%. And I'm also going to give it an effect, a shadow, which is under the Shape Effects here. We see the category Shadow, and we'll choose one called Offset Center. Okay, so the box has been styled. It's got a little outline and a little shadow to give it some distinction on the page. And I'd like to actually format the text to refine this a bit further. So I'm going to select the text in the box by clicking and dragging upwards until it's all highlighted, like you see here. And we're just going to click over on the shortcut menu here, and I'm going to change the size to 14. I'm going to make it italic, and I'm going to click the center button. All right, so I've centered it. I've increased its size and I've made it italic. Now I'm looking at it here now and I see that it is a little bit cut off at the bottom here. So I'm going to make an organic adjustment here by just dragging on one of these little handles to make sure that it does not cut off. All right, so I'm just going to, by eye, adjust this bottom handle so that it does fit properly. There we go. So now we have a really nice little text box centered in the bottom of the page with a little distinction with a shadow and a border, and we have refined the text contained inside of that box. We definitely want to save this at this point. And save. At this point, let's work on editing the footer. There are two sections that are related, one called a header, one called a footer. The header is usually the banner at the top of a page, and the footer, of course, is kind of the sign-off area at the bottom of the page, and your main content goes in between those. And they are distinguished inside of Word, so the way we access those is that we can go over to the Insert tab. And you'll see over here, header, footer. We're only going to work with the footer today and add some basic information. In fact, let me just shrink the view of my page so you can see the whole page. There we go. And the footer again will be somewhere near the bottom here. All right, so let's go over to the footer. There are some pre-built elements, but we're going to go edit footer. Okay. Inside of edit footer, there's a lot of information that can be provided sort of automatically as well as manually. We're just going to automatically apply some document info at this point. So under document info, we're just going to choose file name. And you'll see the file name appear down here. Now again, this is like a separate distinct area. I can't really edit the other areas while I'm in this mode. And to get out of here, we simply hit the close header and footer button. All right. So that's kind of saved. Now that can't be edited directly. It's kind of like a locked reserved area, if you will. But that is what we call the footer. And at this point, the last thing we're going to do is put a decorative border around the page. So to create a page border, we need to go over to the Design tab. And on the far right, there is a button called Page Border. So let's pop that open, and it gives us some choices here. So I'm going to choose Shadow. And I'm going to scroll down under Style, and I'm going to look for Triple Line, which is right here. And for color, I'm going to pick that blue, again, that dark blue, and apply to whole document. Okay, so we did shadow, triple line. I'm actually going to maybe pick a lighter blue. I'll pick this blue right here. Leave the width at its default, but under apply to, just say whole document. Once I click OK, you'll see something that should resemble this representation right here. There we go. There we go. All good. Let's just save our file. And I guess we'll go back to the home page. And let's finally hide our paragraph marks. So this is in fact what it will look like, let's say once printed or created as a PDF or even saved as a Word file. As our last step, we're going to add some information to our document. There is a place where you can have, I'll call it metadata, if you will. If we go back to File, let's click on Info. And over here, we're going to add some information under Properties. So let's click the Show All Properties so we can access all of them. And we'll start with the tags. So I'm going to click inside of Tags. And we're going to add these keywords, if you will, separated by commas. So trainee, space, flyer, and then space, and then internships. Okay, and I'm just going to hit my enter key. And the next thing down, let's go down to subject. And let's just put in our course name, Computer Essentials. And maybe I'll do a space dash space comp 1004. Okay, hit my enter or tab key for that as well. And finally, let's go down. I might have to scroll down here a bit. Under author, add an author. It should show your name, but I'm going to get you to add it again. So put your first name and last name here. I'm going to put my full first name, Daniel, and then my last name, Ouellette, and then hit enter. You can see that you can add an image. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm going to hit enter to add that. Okay. And that's it for document info, and I'll be able to check that as well. But let's just go back here with the back button and just save our file. And once that's saved, you have completed the Word Practice 1 assignment. And I'd like you to take this Word file and hand that in under your assignments in Canvas on our course. And that is the end of this lesson.